All right, what if the very foundation of all your thinking, I'm talking everything from philosophy to physics, isn't words, but just the simple act of moving around in the world? It sounds kind of wild, right? Well, that is the revolutionary idea from cognitive psychologist Barbara Tversky, and today we're going to unpack exactly how she completely turned our understanding of the mind on its head. So Tversky kicks things off with this claim that is, well, it's nothing short of radical. You see, she's not just saying that spatial thinking is a type of thought. No. She's arguing it's the foundation for all of it. Every single complex, abstract idea you've ever had, she says, is built on top of the simple, physical experience of just interacting with stuff in the world. And I'm sure that brings up the same question for you that it did for me. But wait a minute, isn't thinking just words? I mean, for centuries, we've basically equated intelligence with language. Think about it. Our inner monologue, big philosophical debates, all those dense legal documents, it all seems to come down to words. So how on earth can action be the real foundation?
Well, to answer that, we really have to look at Tversky's journey. Right from the start, she was a bit of a contrarian. She was always pushing back against this dominant idea in psychology that thought was just, words and logic.
And this really gets to the heart of the whole debate. You see, the conventional view was pretty simple. Thinking equals language. The idea was that our memory for images is actually terrible. It fades in seconds unless we slap a verbal label on it. But Tversky just came back with these incredibly simple but powerful questions. Like, what about those faces you can't describe but you'd never, ever forget? Or how do babies think before they can even speak? And maybe the biggest one, why is half of our cortex dedicated to processing space and not language? And look, she wasn't just asking questions. She was doing the research to back it up. Her very first major project, her dissertation in fact, proved that we absolutely create lasting visual images just from hearing words. This totally flipped that old theory on its head and basically set the stage for her entire career. Okay, so this leads us to the next piece of the puzzle, the world inside our own heads. Tversky started looking into how we build mental maps of our surroundings, and what she found was pretty fascinating. Turns out, the maps in our heads are not at all perfect copies of the real world. Okay, this is a fantastic example. Let me ask you, which city is farther east, Reno or San Diego? Go on, take a guess. If you're like most people, you said Reno, right? Because Nevada is east of California. But you'd be wrong. Reno is actually west of San Diego. What's happening is that our brain takes a shortcut. It aligns the bigger containers, the states, and then just assumes the cities inside are aligned the same way. It does the same thing with continents. We think Philadelphia is north of Rome because North America is above Europe on the map. These aren't just silly mistakes. They're systematic, predictable distortions our brains used to save energy. And this gets even more personal when you think about the space right around your body. We don't have some kind of perfect 360-degree picture in our heads. Nope. Instead, Tversky found we use our own bodies as the main reference point, like a spatial framework. It's like a built-in GPS that has a clear hierarchy. The fastest is the head-to-feet axis, which makes sense. It's anchored by gravity. Then comes front to back, because that's how we move and see the world. And dead last, left and right. It's the slowest because, honestly, there's nothing that makes them naturally different from each other. All right, now this is where Tversky's work takes a really cool turn. We've been talking about the world inside our heads. Now she shifts to how we use the physical world outside our heads as a literal tool for thinking. She realized that across all human cultures, for thousands of years, we've been using this simple, universal visual language. It all starts with the most basic element, points. Just simple dots or icons that act as placeholders for anything really. People, places, ideas. Then you have lines. A line isn't just a mark on a page, it's a relationship. It's what connects those points, showing a path or a link between them. Now stick a little arrowhead on that line, and suddenly that relationship has direction. It's not just a connection anymore. Now it's a flow, a cause leading to an effect, a one-way street. And finally, you've got boxes. We use them as containers to group things, to define a space, to show that a whole bunch of points belong together. Points, lines, arrows, boxes. That's it. That's the basic grammar of how we think visually. But this kind of thinking on paper isn't always so clean and structured. Tversky discovered that sometimes the messier our external thoughts are, the more powerful they can be. This is what led her to study sketching, which she so perfectly describes as this wordless conversation between the eye, the hand, and the page. She did this landmark study where she just watched architects work, and she realized their sketches weren't just a way to record ideas they already had. No, the sketches were actually tools for discovering new ideas. A quick, messy, ambiguous drawing lets them see things they didn't even mean to put there. For example, a novice might spot a cool new shape, but an experienced architect might look at the same messy lines and see a future traffic flow problem at an entrance. So the ambiguity, the messiness, that's a feature, not a bug. It actually invites new discoveries. So from the page, Tversky then turned to the air itself. She argued that, just like sketches, the hand gestures we make when we talk, they're not just for the person listening. They are incredibly important for the person who's actually speaking. And the evidence for this is it's overwhelming. We know from studies that gesturing helps with mathematical reasoning and makes you better at solving spatial puzzles. When you use your hands to trace out the parts of a complex machine, you are literally building a better mental model of it in your head. But here's the most powerful proof of all. People who've been blind from birth still gesture when they talk, even if they're talking to other blind people. That right there proves it. Gesturing isn't just for showing things to others. It's for thinking.
Okay, so you've got these distorted mental maps, you've got messy sketches, you've got gestures. What does it all add up to? Well, Tversky tied it all together with this one beautiful, elegant concept that really is the core of her life's work. And she called that concept spraction. It's a mashup of space, action, and abstraction, and it describes this incredible feedback loop. Basically, our physical actions in space, things like sorting, arranging, pointing, drawing, they don't just change the world around us. They actually help create the abstractions, the ideas in our minds that we then use for all our complex thinking.
And this isn't some weird, obscure scientific theory. You do this all day, every day. When you organize the spices in your cabinet, you're not just cleaning up. Your physical action of grouping them is actually creating mental categories. When you're arranging sticky notes on a whiteboard, you are literally building the structure of your project out in the world so your brain can work with it better. Even just sorting laundry into piles, that is stress action in action.
So, in the end, it's this incredibly powerful two-way street. We organize the world around us to help us organize our own minds. And because of that, the way we act in the world, it literally shapes how we think. And Tversky's work really leaves us with this one last, powerful idea to chew on. The world isn't just some passive background for our lives. It's an active resource. It's a thinking tool, filled with all those lines and paths and containers we talked about. So the real question for you, for all of us, is this: how are you going to use it to think?